So if you've done a bit of grading in the past in DaVinci Resolve, you'll probably know my pain. Why is there not a keyboard shortcut to switch between the primary wheels and the HDR wheels? It doesn't make any sense. There was meant to be one on the micro color panel using the user button to program it in, but that feature never got added. And I'm pretty sure there's one on the advanced panel, but I don't have 40 grand lying around to test that theory. I find myself switching back and forward between those two tools on pretty much every clip I grade. So last week I set about trying to find a solution, and that solution was AutoHotkey. God, that sounds sponsored. This isn't sponsored. I brought up this issue with Claude Code. I've been having a ton of fun just looking at different ways I can automate the monotonous parts of my grading process, and it recommended AutoHotkey as a possible solution to my problem. Basically, Claude wrote a script that takes my mouse over to the primary wheels or the HDR wheels, clicks it, and then takes my mouse back to the original position, all in the blink of an eye with one button press. So it's basically a keyboard shortcut. So I'm going to run you through how to set this up. I've got the code down in the description that you can just copy and paste into a text file and get it set up and running in 10 minutes or less. Let me show you how to set it up. So the very first thing we're going to do is come to AutoHotkey.com. I'm going to hit download. This is Windows only, but if you have an idea about how we can make this available to Mac users, let me know in the comments. Download version 2. I'm just going to download this straight to the desktop, open it up, and it's just a standard install process. It's just going to install there, all users, and we get AutoHotkey is now installed. Okay, so I've just created a new folder on the desktop. I'm just going to right click. I'm going to go new text document. I'm just going to call this something like HDR primary switch. I'm going to open that text file, and down in the description below, you'll see a section where you just copy and paste the code that we've written. So I'm going to paste that into our text document. And now just to give you a quick breakdown of what's happening here, we're just coming into the script, getting the current mouse position, and then we're either toggling to the HDR panel position, and these are its screen coordinates, or we are toggling to the primaries position with those screen coordinates, and then we're moving the mouse back to its original position. Now your monitor is probably very different to mine, and the screen position will be a little different, but we can use AutoHotkey to find the screen position of your icons as opposed to mine. So to do that, we're going to open Resolve. Okay, so now that we're in Resolve and we're on the color page, I'm going to open up the AutoHotkey dash, and there'll be a tool down at the side panel here called Window Spy. So I'm going to click that, and you see as we move our mouse around, it's going to give us screen positions of where our mouse is. So if I hover over the HDR panel here, I can make a note that my positioning is 309, 1445, and my primaries wheel is at 223, 1434. So all we need to do is come back to our script and just paste in those coordinates to both of those positions. Now at the moment, my key is set to the insert button because that's what's closest to my panel when I've got my hands above my keyboard. But if you wanted to change that to something else, you can head back to the AutoHotkey website, go into documentation for version 2, and over on the left, we'll have a page for hotkeys and a page for the list of keys. So if you ever wanted to change it to a different key, just go find the key that you want to replace it with and replace it with its description. In hotkeys, you'll just find special keys like Control and Shift and what their respective symbols are in the code. So there's only one more thing we need to do to turn this into a workable script, and that is to just change the file extension of your file from a text file to a .ahk for AutoHotkey. And as soon as we do that, we just click yes, and you can see it's now a actual AutoHotkey script. Now this only runs in the background once we go and open it. So to open it pretty much from the moment you start up your computer, we can hit Windows R and type in shell startup, and this opens up our startup folder. So whatever we put in here is going to start up as soon as we boot our PC. So all I need to do is right click, I'm going to go down to show more options and then create a shortcut. That's just going to pop one out here, and all I have to do is move that into my startup folder. Mine's already in there. And that's all the setup we need. So if we just double click our script, it'll just start running in the background, and we can go back to Resolve. And now whenever we hit our key, it will just switch back and forward between our primary and our HDR wheels. I have been stuck on this problem for so long. I've had this micro color panel for a good 3 years now, and I've been dying for that user function to be coded into the panel through Blackmagic, but for some reason they haven't gotten around to it. So we're figuring shit out for ourselves. I hope that's helped. If you have any other kind of Resolve nitpicky pain in the ass stuff, let me know. and we might cover it in a future video if I come up with a solution for it. So that's all from me today. I'll catch you in the next video. Have a good one.